At the dawn of the 21st century, Esch, a man of considerable size and strength, was leaving a trail of devastation in his wake, sending opponents tumbling with barely a touch. Famously known as Butterbean, Esch's imposing, neckless figure had become a fixture in the boxing ring, where for nearly 2 decades he obliterated his competition with raw power and a relentless pursuit of knockouts. His dominance wasn't confined to boxing alone. Later in his career, he ventured into the unforgiving worlds of kickboxing and mixed martial arts, where his reputation for crushing shins and wrecking faces only grew. A unique figure in the annals of combat sports history, Butterbean's journey to becoming one of the most memorable knockout artists is one worth revisiting. The year was 1991, a time when the Hubble telescope was opening our eyes to the vastness of space and the digital age was dawning with the launch of the very first website. But while the world was on the cusp of massive technological shifts, in the quiet town of Jasper, Alabama, Esch was leading a far more ordinary life. He worked long hours at a factory, a job that, while steady, offered no glamour or excitement. His days were spent providing for his family, with no indication that his life would soon take a dramatic turn. Esch was just another face in the crowd, until one day, on the urging of his colleagues, he decided to enter a local Tough Man contest. The Tough Man contest was a rough-and-tumble tournament that allowed anyone who fancied themselves the toughest guy around to step into the ring and prove it. No boxing skills were necessary, just a willingness to throw hands. For a modest cash prize, regulars from local bars would unleash their inner brawlers, going all out in the ring. Esch, standing at 5 feet 11 inches and tipping the scales at over 420 pounds, was a behemoth even by heavyweight standards. However, in order to qualify for the contest, he had to trim down to meet the 400-pound weight limit. Determined to compete, he went on an aggressive 2-week diet, eating little more than chicken breasts and butter beans. The latter would become his iconic nickname, replacing his birth name and marking the beginning of his transformation from factory worker to one of the most famous fighters in the world. At 23 years old, with no formal training and having never laced up a pair of gloves, Esch entered the ring for the first time in a pair of patriotic red, white, and blue shorts. Defense wasn't a priority for him. Rather than learning the finer points of boxing, he chose to conserve energy, immediately going for the knockout punch. While others might have sought sophisticated advice from coaches or experts, Esch relied on the simple yet effective tips his wife had given him before the fight. The strategy worked wonders. In the pursuit of a cash prize, he tore through his opponents with the same ease that one might dispose of a can of beans. His opponents, no match for his size and raw power, fell one after the other, cementing Esch's reputation as a knockout machine. After winning 5 Tough Man World titles and accumulating an impressive 36 knockouts in just 94 fights, Esch's reputation reached the professional boxing world. Promoter Bob Arum, known for recognizing talent and marketability, saw potential in the heavy-hitting factory worker from Alabama and offered him a contract. Arum understood that with Esch's considerable size, endurance over long fights would be a challenge, so all of his matches were limited to 4 rounds. This setup allowed Butterbean to unleash his full power without worrying about conserving energy for longer bouts. Bursting onto the professional boxing scene, Butterbean made an immediate impact. Hungry for victory and fueled by an undeniable desire to win, he showcased a unique physique that defied the traditional athletic body. His near-spherical shape, while unconventional, housed devastating punching power. Butterbean quickly became known for his ability to absorb hits and close the distance on his opponents. He would get up close and personal, landing heavy counterhooks and catching his opponents in what felt like head-on collisions. For his adversaries, it seemed that all it took was a single touch from the freight train that was Butterbean, and they would be sent sprawling. One of Butterbean's most memorable victories came against Luis Monaco, a match in which Esch wasted no time, rushing forward from the opening bell to finish the fight as quickly as possible. Butterbean's experience in the Tough Man contests had honed his ability to force open brawls, which was exactly what happened with Monaco. With a devastating overhand punch, Butterbean sent his opponent crashing to the canvas. As his reputation grew, Butterbean started fighting almost weekly, with opponents finding it increasingly difficult to handle his raw power. Not one to be selective about his targets, Esch even managed to drop a referee who accidentally got in his way during one of his frenzied knockouts. By the time Butterbean had racked up 15 consecutive victories in a single year, 10 of which were knockouts, people began to take him seriously as a force to be reckoned with in the boxing world. In 1997, Butterbean's rise continued as he earned a chance to fight at the legendary Madison Square Garden. His opponent, Mitchell Rose, was tough enough to weather Butterbean's initial barrage, but it didn't take long for Esch to overpower him. Although Rose managed to hold his ground for a while, Butterbean responded with a punishing assault to the body. However, the grueling pace of the fight took its toll on Esch, and his oxygen tank ran empty, leaving him vulnerable. Rose managed to outlast Esch and handed him one of his rare losses, but the defeat didn't tarnish Butterbean's reputation. Less than 2 months later, Butterbean would return to the ring, showcasing his improved skills, including head movement and the ability to fight as a counterpuncher. His newfound tactics paid off, and his opponents continued to fall. By the end of the decade, Butterbean had become a household name. His unique fighting style, combined with his ability to deliver devastating knockouts, made him one of the most recognizable figures in the sport. Even without major titles to his name, Butterbean was as popular as any of the top champions, and his matches were always eagerly anticipated. His fame transcended boxing, landing him spots on television shows, commercials, and even video games. Butterbean graced the cover of EA Sports' Toughman contest, a tribute to his roots in the Tough Man tournaments, where players would have to fight their way through increasingly difficult opponents before facing the final boss, Butterbean himself. However, Butterbean's career wasn't confined to the boxing ring alone. In 1997, he ventured into the world of professional wrestling, making his debut with the WWF, now WWE. His most memorable wrestling match took place the following year, where he participated in a legitimate shoot fight against Bart Gunn at WrestleMania 15. The match was orchestrated by and mixed martial arts, MMA. Despite lacking experience in these fields, Esch's popularity and sheer physical presence made him a draw wherever he fought. In kickboxing, however, his lack of leg defense proved to be a significant disadvantage. Even so, he continued to entertain fans, particularly in Japan, where he was beloved by audiences. In MMA, he shocked many by securing submission victories, in addition to his usual knockouts. By the mid-2000s, Butterbean was a fixture in the rapidly growing sport of mixed martial arts. As the 2000s progressed, Esch remained active in various combat sports until his official retirement in 2013, capping off an incredible career with a record of 97 wins and 24 losses, including 68 knockouts. Unfortunately, retirement brought with it health complications, as Esch's weight ballooned to over 485 pounds, an old hip injury worsened, and eventually, Butterbean found himself confined to a wheelchair. However, in 2022, Butterbean embarked on an inspiring journey of recovery, participating in a reality show called Change or Die. Through a combination of a strict diet and painful therapy, Esch managed to shed over 185 pounds, marking the first time in decades that his weight dropped below 300 pounds. Now, at 58 years old, Eric Esch enjoys a quieter life in his hometown of Jasper, Alabama, where he spends time with his family and grandchildren. Although rumors of a boxing comeback persist, Esch's greatest comeback may have already happened. From humble beginnings as a factory worker with no fighting experience, Butterbean rose to become one of the most recognizable figures in the world of combat sports, leaving a legacy of knockouts, colorful appearances, and an undeniable bond with fans worldwide.